Evening, Board. Just happy to be here tonight, and just want to let you know that we're excited about this project and to get underway, show you some of the schematic work that's been done. I'm going to turn it over to Aubrey. We've got some handouts that are exactly what you have in your board packet as well, but we have hard copies as well. I'll bring around to you.
Thank you for a few minutes this evening to introduce this project to you. As Condon mentioned, we've met with the staff several times and we've also visited all 3 high schools, and we know one of the goals of this project is to bring equity to Birdville with what is at Richland and at Haltom. And so let's see. And so we feel that what we've come up with will meet their needs both now and in the future, and is very comparable to what is at the other 2 high schools. So this is the existing site plan, and just to get your bearings, Mid-Cities is along the top of the page, and then the main entry to Birdville High School is off of Mid-Cities, and then to the left is the academic wing, and then to the right is your fine arts and athletics. And then you'll also notice to the southeast of the high school is the football stadium. So for the additions, I'll start at the main entry and then move to the right. There's a small fine arts addition at the front of the building, and this will be for band. And what we've done is it allows us to keep all of the existing drives in the existing loading area, so we won't be doing any site work there. And then because of our limited site constraints here, we decided to move choir over to the east of the auditorium. And so they will have a completely new program, their main halls and other spaces here, and then band will overtake the existing choir. And then below the choir addition is the athletics addition, and then over on the academic side, you'll see there's a science addition at the back of the building as well, and that'll be a new exit from the building that's not currently there, so we'll tie a sidewalk into the existing system that's running back there.
Now, excuse me, can I interrupt? Is that all right?
Go ahead, yeah.
Now, why did you guys select the science addition there? I know what earlier concepts we had at other places, and it wasn't going to interfere with those heat pump pipes.
We looked at multiple locations. I think I was initially looking at the eastern side of the academic wing. There's a lot of grade change there, and it would be relocating a ramp and a lot of site items there. We really think with this addition where it is, we may avoid the well field entirely, or we may hit 2 or 3, but it's pretty insignificant. It'd be pretty comparable cost-wise to where if we had to do all the extra grading work on the east side. We also looked at the west side of the academic wing, but that's where there's a lot of geothermal lines running through there, so we wanted to avoid that. And then the other option would be up here on the northwest corner, but that was pretty far from their existing science labs, and they wanted to try to keep all of the science located together. So. Okay, moving to the existing floor plan, again, to get your bearings, in the middle of the page is your main entry. And then to the right, you can see the existing band and choir program. And as we mentioned, band will take over this choir space, and choir will move out to their own location. And then for the athletics, you have the main competition gym, a practice gym, and then some existing support spaces here on the left with the locker rooms below. And most of that will be staying the same with all of the work that we've done with both departments. The renovations will really be pretty minimal. So we can look at that a little bit closer on the updated plan. Again, starting in the front with the Fine Arts Edition, we're adding about 4,000 to 5,000 square feet in the front, I think. And then very minor renovations, just moving a couple of walls, but it's really pretty efficient design for a band, and they are all very happy with the space that they're gaining. And I don't think choir's complaining either. with them getting all new spaces, it allows them to really have the flexibility to do what they want to do. So they'll have their main rehearsal hall and a second rehearsal hall along with some support spaces to the east of the auditorium. And another effort we want to make is we're de-emphasizing this entry point right now that a lot of the public comes to. And they've decided as a campus that they want to really focus the public towards the main auditorium lobby for performances and events. And so that way that will also not interfere with, if there's a choir performance, the choir program being in this side corridor.
Can I ask?
Mm-hmm.
Also for the basketball gym
Mm-hmm.
entrances, and so my question is, when you have both being utilized for events, we're ready for that flow to be okay with a lot of crowd?
Right, we have not reduced the flow in any way. If anything, we've added a secondary corridor in there. So,
Yeah, I'm talking about like dual events.
yeah,
At the
I
same
think it
time,
would still
like-
be it's very comparable to what you
Because
have
you
right
said
now.
you did emphasize the one, well, you've taken it away.
Well, we haven't taken it away. It's still
Well-
the same width of corridor. We just
Because you
have,
don't want people to come through there.
we haven't put the
But we got
same
the same
canopy out there.
size that was there.
Correct.
So I'm visualizing reduced entrances.
Not reduced number of entrances. We're just not going back with the large entry canopy and things like that to really draw a lot of attention to it.
You talk to the basketball boosters and they know what's coming.
We've talked to the athletic director and the head coach at this point. So if we can certainly have follow-up conversations and make sure everyone's on board with that.
I wouldn't surprise them. That's just me.
Yeah, we can certainly have more conversations with them.
The, I finished.
I'm through, I'm sorry.
The third gym or the one that you're adding, obviously substantially, or it looks like substantially slimmer. What are you going to be able to do around the edges there? Is it just enough for a row of chairs, or?
Well, at the moment, the gym at Haltom and Richland, the third gyms do not have any bleachers, and so this was originally planned to have no bleachers. So that's how the base bid will be, but we do have an alternate planned to get 250 seats in there because we do know that it's a desire to have some seating in there.
Wait, okay. So it sounds like you've had expressed to you a desire to have parity, but then you've also had a desire to you to get seats in there. Personally, I don't know why we have gyms with that some ability to seat people, even if it's limited. I think it's silly. Sorry. I don't care about. I mean, I do care about parity, but I just wish we would have thought about that earlier on the others. I don't want to just keep. I don't want to keep carrying forward a wrong just because we did it wrong in the past.
Good point, yeah.
Mr. Talbot, we said the same thing, and that's what we said.
I've sat in those risers before. I've sat in that gym.
Right, and they're in there. He's talking about the new third one.
The third gym, that was an original thought, and there were some comments, and I was one of them that said that needs to be at least for if you have a tournament, that's where your third games are played, and you have at least a row or two of seatings there where you have a freshman game or you obviously have your main gym there where your home team plays, and you have two faraway teams that you schedule in those gyms where you can seat 200 people, and that's what she said, up to about 250. So we do have that in as a possibility, and you're right, it would not be parity, but it's needed. We agreed with that.
Anybody
So
else?
in order to meet the bond budget and get all the other needs in there, this was just one of those extra items where we certainly want to do it if we can afford it, but we want to make sure that we get all of the primary needs that the programs needed in there first.
So do you bid that as an alternative during the
Yes.
bid process? Okay.
Yes, that's the plan. As far as the rest of the athletics area addition, you do have a new dance hall and locker room space for them. And then you already mentioned the gym. There'll also be 2 new weight rooms and then some girls' locker room spaces as well. And then the existing locker room spaces will get a small facelift with a little bit of paint and some new lockers to keep all of those pretty equitable on campus. As And then when the weight rooms move out here, the existing weight room will become the wrestling room. Currently, they're in a portable, and so want to get them back in the campus. And then the existing dance hall will be pretty much left as is and be an extra space for cheer to practice. Any other questions on the floor plan?
I do. Go back to the choir space in between the two gyms, the new small one and the previous small one.
Mhm.
That, why would you put it there in between two gyms?
Yes, the dance.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. I'm
dance
sorry.
is on the south side of the corridor,
Okay,
and the
I
whole
was looking
choir
at color.
program's on the north.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Thank you.
Okay.
Move on.
This is dance right here?
Dance.
Yes. Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
dance and drill.
Dance and drill.
So some exterior renderings. This is the band edition here in the red with this is the music theory space to the right. And then on the left is the existing loading area. So you can see we're using all the same materials. We'll just continue the same look around the building to tie it in so that hopefully you won't even know it was an addition in the end. And then this next view
I'm
is...
sorry, I had another question.
Sure.
You can go back to the front. To the west of the new add-on, the gray retaining walls, or whatever they call them, that are there, there's nothing in this that involves modifying or correcting those walls.
For this edition, I don't think we're interfering with any of those.
Do you know what I'm talking about? It looks horrible. Okay, thank you.
We can talk to Mr. Hughes afterwards and
I have a question. You're talking about trying to emphasize the area down on the east end right there where the awning is.
Mhm.
That awning's already there,
Correct.
correct?
And
So
s-
what are you going to do to make it more obvious?
we're
or-
going to improve the lighting over there for one, and we
Okay.
may look at if there's any improvements worth doing for the sidewalk or landscaping or something like that.
Okay, just some subtle things to draw.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And de-emphasize the other. Yeah. De-emphasize the other.
Yeah. So this on the right side of the screen would be that auditorium entry, and then the choir addition is to the left of that, and we do have some windows facing north in there, so that'll be nice for them. And then this is where we were saying we are not currently going back with another entry canopy, and instead keeping that a little more subtle. But it is still just as wide of a corridor, and it can be an entry. We're just wanting to pull as many people towards that auditorium lobby as we can. Which, the entry? We're not changing the canopy. Mm-hmm.
Money, budget.
And then to the left in the red is the gym addition, and again, we do have some translucent windows there to get a little bit of light into that gym. And then this last one is the science edition, just continuing the same look around the building. The total program, we have a 42,000 square foot addition and 19,000 square foot of
I'm sorry.
renovation.
Could you go back? And I know we're trying to keep the elevation the same, and that may be the answer, but that's it for windows? I mean, I guess we're trying to keep the look the same, but wow.
Yeah, it's certainly possible to add some windows. There's
I mean, I don't know. You
There's-
guys are the experts at keeping
Well,
keeping
I mean,
the look the same. It just
You're right in equitability, but at the same time, one window or two windows isn't going to make a difference. So that's an easy thing to add. When we get into the detailed layout of those science labs and start looking at how the casework and everything is laying out, we can see what space we have to work with, and I think that's certainly a possibility.
I just know it makes a huge difference.
Yes, I agree.
You know, I used to work in a cube in the interior, and so it just was a different feel. And then when you have an office where you can see light,
Mhm.
it just makes a difference. I don't know how to describe it other than it does.
Yeah, I agree. We are showing some windows on the side, but there's certainly opportunities for us to look at
lot of
look at some
doesn't
more.
it true that a lot of those science labs need cabinet space, though, to store and lock away things,
Yeah.
which can take up a wall.
So it'll
that
be
could
a
be an
balance
issue.
between all of that. Mhm.
Go ahead.
As I mentioned, total between addition and renovation is about 62,000 square feet. We are right on budget right now, but we are considering a few alternates like the gym seating and some additional items that both fine arts and athletics are both wanting that weren't in the original bond. And so we think that we'll be able to take those. One of those was a team room for the athletics. And so where it wasn't originally.
What's a team room?
Can you,
Where the
where'd
athletes
Ghana go?
meet.
Can you explain that a little better?
It's just kind of a meeting room, is the
Yeah.
way I understand it. Haltom has one, and Richland has them, and they're anywhere from 1,000 square feet to 2,000 square feet, and it's where they can kind of assemble the team and have meetings, and that's about the extent I understand of it.
I mean, is it used
Yeah, they use
every
quite a
day,
bit,
or?
During football season, it's a very regular occurrence, especially.
That's 10 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, that's primary, but it's throughout the year, but it's heavily used during fall season. And without that, then they're in the wrestling room or somewhere else.
They just go outside.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's an ad alternate, so it is totally optional.
Now, excuse me, but when you say you're on budget, what numbers are you using, I guess, per square foot or something? And first, I guess my question is, are you using some base square footage to say we're within budget?
Yes.
And then where are you getting that square footage number?
The dollars per square.
Yeah,
dollars.
that's, yeah.
Just based on our past experience with similar projects.
From
So-
the last year, last 2 years?
We keep a running data in-house for all the work that we do.
Okay,
And so as we bid a job, and, we bid 3 or 4 in the last month, that just continues to add to our database, and we just pull from that.
Okay, good.
Based on similar style, type of materials, type of construction.
Okay.
Okay, and then the schedule, this doesn't show, but we'll be back for DD approval next month with some more detailed floor plans and renderings of the building. The current plan is to issue documents to bid at the beginning of October and hopefully bring a recommendation to you guys in November to award the construction contract. So that construction could begin as early as December. We do think that we can get all of the additions done. And I failed to mention the flooring replacement on the entire campus, get all of that done by August of 16. So, are there any other questions? We're replacing the VCT flooring, not all the porcelain tile. But
We're okay for a while. Is that 9-month window enough time for this scope of work?
we've reviewed it with our construction director and talked to a couple of other people, and we think it's very doable.
Sometimes you make the window too small, the prices go up.
Right.
It can. We're seeing though, I mean, you balance that against, escalation factor of drawing the project out too. So there's kind of a give and take there.
Will y'all, as soon as the plans are approved and everything, will y'all go ahead and apply for permits ahead of time so
Absolutely.
they can truly hit the ground running?
Absolutely.
Really,
Once
if we
get-
put on the contract in November, whatever we just moved our date to, they can start work the next day.
Yeah, once we get past the DD stage, which is next month, and we're into construction documents, I know y'all met, or we at least talked about Crystal during one of our interviews with y'all, who's our permitting facilitator. She will start and engage in that process once we get construction documents, start meeting with the cities, and going through those early on in the plan development.
Any other questions?
If I could, I want to make a comment about where we are in this process. Ideally, we would have had a little more, these folks would have had a little more refined presentation to make with a few more of the details and finishes and so forth, had we been meeting a couple of months from now. What
Conan and his group and these architects have been working on is the flow of the space, making sure that we're meeting the needs of the athletic department, the fine arts people. Because this is a remodel, it's a little different than a new construction. But what we wanted to get to you tonight was the opportunity for you to see where the additions would go, how the space would flow, the general square footage. Everything that you've provided this evening is valuable information. Questions about entries and windows and those type things. Just know that we felt important to get to you tonight and to give you what we had as of tonight, gather information from you so that they can take all of that into account, hit the ground running, and be back to you and stay on this schedule. I also want to make a comment about one of the reasons that this schedule, we originally thought, and the architects originally thought, that we needed to extend that schedule a little further out. We were going to have to. But some of the things that they've been able to do, for instance, you'll notice with the modifications for band, they're very limited internal modifications there to convert choir space to band space. Some of the same thing in other areas of the building. Because you're able to do minor modifications to renovations, you don't have to pace out a lot of work around the students, if that makes sense. You can do those modifications without disrupting the class, and that allows you to get on a little more rapid construction schedule. But it is exciting about the potential of the opportunity of cutting a year's worth of inflation and being able to get this done a year earlier if it's possible.
Mr. President, one other thing.
Yeah, Joe.
If you don't mind, next time you come back, would you also, and Mike reminded me, this is a remodel. So if you could come back next time and part of the presentation include, where you guys are going to set up, where you're going to do your staging, and how you're going to phase it, and then it's important at all our schools, but obviously I'm even heightened awareness at elementary and middle schools, but still it's a high school, and so I'd like to know how we're going to prevent interaction between the construction crews and their material and the students. Yeah, I'd kind of like to. I know you guys do that all the time, but if you could just kind of give me some reassurance that we've talked about that, that'd be good.
And what we can do is we'll show you preliminary our thoughts, and then once we get a construction manager on board too, that could change or adapt a little bit. Because really it's means and methods on their side, but without a doubt, we'll start to lay out how we feel that would work with the campus.
I mean, because most of our students will be going right past the bulk of the construction, right? I mean, they'll be walking from the parking lot right there.
Absolutely.
Some of the areas you can fence off and protect and whatever, usually one of the first things, once the contractor's picked, is they'll require them to give us a timeline, give us your schedule, give us your phasing plan, because they know what kind of manpower they're going to need, that I'm only going to work in this area because it is, June, July at the very end. Like maybe like those interior spots, like where the choir is, or the choir is that the band's going to be.
Right.
They can do that when school's out of the way and it's clean, it's inside and stuff like that. Usually that's one of the first things a contractor is required to do. Give us your phasing plan and give us your time schedule, and we'll agree whether we accept it or not. True?
Right. That's true. And what we do is we work hand in hand with the staff at this campus. Some of those programs start to wind down as they get closer to the end of school, and we can take those spaces earlier too and help accommodate the shift of those students because, concert season's over or whatever is over, allow some freedom to give that room back. What we found is most of the time those people are happy to give it to you if they know they're getting it back.
Right.
Come back in the fall. And so we just work hand in hand with your staff, with the contractor, with that campus leadership to make sure that we're accommodating and being sensitive to their needs, to make sure the curriculum's still getting delivered, those special programs are still being delivered without interruption.
Dolores?
Just a comment, because I know you do this all the time. I taught 12th graders in the middle of a construction remodel, and it is very distracting. I think the students are also very distracting to the construction workers. Am I correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
can be.
And so I would urge you to keep them as separate as you can,
You know
for
what?
everybody's sake.
I go to a lot of construction sites, and my men do too, and others. It is so ingrained today in the contractors and the subcontractors' mind one about the no smoking, the no loud music, absolute zero tolerance of interaction with students. I mean, it is totally ingrained in those men, because guess what? If you're caught doing it, you don't work here anymore. They'll take them off the job. Not only do they go through background checks and drug screening, but a lot of the GCs do a very extensive safety training and what they call pre-construction meeting. Here's what our expectations are, and there truly, truly is a zero tolerance. And so there's not much interaction.
Well, let's just say that
Kids think I'm the rudest guy in the world, and they start asking me questions, and I just don't say, I just ignore them, you know.
the students very much want to interact with the construction workers.
And that'll be, also they'll get some help from the staff there too. That, hey, these guys are here working for our benefit, make things done. Don't interrupt them, don't get in their way, don't distract them, stay away from the equipment, all those plus things. So they can get some help from the students too. But I'm telling you, contractors, they're not going to risk getting kicked off of a job. True?
That's correct. And not only that, we really do our best with the contractors to completely sever and make that isolated. So that really, it minimizes any opportunity for obviously.
Temporary walls are cheap sometimes.
Exactly. Obviously, you might cross in a parking lot or something. I mean, there's going to be occurrences, but really making those temporary partitions, fencing, and only allowing contractors to exist in one side of that.
Dr. Brown?
Yeah, Mr. Hancock asked a question about the security vestibule, Connor, that I voiced to you. So just a brief comment on your ability to take care of that there in the
Yes,
front.
sorry, I meant to mention that. That is planned as part of this project to take care of that next summer, so that it'll be ready for August of 16 with everything else.
And with that office space there to the right, it works well to feed right into
Right,
there, correct?
right.
Okay.
We're going to put a door straight into the reception office and force everyone through there.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe just send us a visual design schematic, just
Yeah,
floor
on the
plan
next
of the design,
update,
yeah.
it'll be there.
Yeah, that'd
Yes.
be great just to send us.
Yes.
We'll let you pick the color if you want.
Well, thank you all very much for your time.
Right, thank you.